Rectangular back, this time with part 2 of Wrecked and Tangled number 8, where I break down the a.c.b.a setup I did with Gladiator versus Drax. So here are the comic panels and the pictures that I made to represent them or duplicate them. This is from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Issue 17, pages 10 through 11. And basically in part 1 of Wrecked and Tangled 8, I showed how I got the brought the dirt from under the house to build the background for the characters to be, or figures to be posed in front of. And these are the remaining shots that I didn't show in part 1. Basically had to get Drax on a stand, a foot stand. I couldn't duplicate the scene perfectly without it looking weird and without exposing the knife on his hand. And Gladiator had to get on a stand. That was a little tricky. And then I couldn't quite replicate these shots here without it looking weird, just because of the proportions of the figures. So I went with a more simplistic shot, which I think turned out pretty well. It was probably the least exciting shot from the setup. It's kind of weird looking how they are posed together, but basically just trying to replicate the scene as close to the comic as possible. This again is a kind of an odd looking shot. Would have liked to have got Drax's face more in the shot like this, maybe angled him a little bit more towards the camera, because in here, you're just seeing his straight shot of his back and not seeing his face. So would have liked to have angled that a little bit better, but overall pretty happy with the way it turned out, given the technical difficulties of the shot. And then we have the final setup where Gladiator is basically letting Drax get out his frustrations, and then he ends up just launching him into space after this shot here, and the Guardians have to come and rescue him. So anyway, I'm going to show the actual video footage of each of the breakdowns of each shot, and hopefully you guys liked it. Alright, here we go. Okay, I just got done taking this shot, and it's probably a little more complicated than I thought it was going to be. The cape causes some issues. It's impossible to get it to pose like the comic panel, just because it's not a cloth cape. You can't lay the collar down, so I worked with it as best as I could, and pretty happy with the shot overall. So the final shot was cropped more like this, and I digitally removed the last bit of the stand there with the clone tool. So full disclosure on that. Now, to get him, I'm not sure if I showed this in a previous Wrecked and Tangled, but I have made these little wood block stands. I scored a grid on there and then drilled holes in all over the place. I don't know how many that is, but if you count all the lines, there's a a hole at the intersection of each one of those lines. So there is a piece of wire going up from the bottom, and then it's coming into the crotch of the figure there. Hopefully you can see that. I move the light, shine the light in there. There you go. So yeah, he's getting it up the butt there. But yeah, it's the best way I could come up with to get him on there effectively. So turned out pretty well, and just hid most of the stand with extra rocks there, or rock and dirt clod, or actually 2 dirt clods. And yeah, I've got my usual lights set up, and I've got these lights here, and of course this is my wand of LEDs. And yeah, let's go on to the next shot. Here is the next shot in the setup that I just got done shooting, and man, this was a pain in the ass. I have Gladiator on a flight stand, and I tried to suspend Drax with some thread, but that just wasn't working. I was not able to replicate the exact pose, so because he in the panel he's already flying through the air, he's jumping at Gladiator, and just couldn't pull it off the way I wanted to. So without having a big stand in that I would have to digitally remove from the scene, so I tried not to do that as much as possible. So wanted to go as practical as I could. So what I did was I put him on a foot stand, and let me grab another one so you can see what they look like there. This is what the stand, oops, this is what the stand looks like. I can't remember who makes these. Oh, McFarlane. So these are made by McFarlane Toys, and they don't always fit, the pegs don't always fit all the Marvel Legends feet. This one I had to Dremel a little bit, I think, to fit into a female. So basically that is what is underneath our Drax's foot is attached to, and then I had to cover it up with rubble, with the debris, so that you couldn't see that, because it's shiny plastic. And then I got my light and put it underneath here so that you could so I could get the light on Drax, especially so I could light up his eyes. And it was difficult not getting the light into the shot, so you pan out and you can see how Gladiator is on my stand there, like I did for the previous shot. Took a lot of trial and error. The first series of pictures that I took, the cape had a lot of excess gold on the side here, so actually just clean that up as best as I could, and that way I wouldn't have to do it digitally, and looks a lot better. So pretty happy with this shot. It was, like I said, a huge pain in the ass, and didn't quite get Drax in the pose I wanted. Wanted to copy the panel as much as I could. Also had to adjust his arm so that you don't see that that knife that's attached to him. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off in the next shots. Probably not, where he is fighting Gladiator. They're doing hand to hand. So I'm just going to have to bite the bullet on on showing that that knife on his arm. Alright, let's keep on grinding. Here is the next shot that I just got done shooting, and had to get creative with the posing because I was never going to be able to replicate the pose from the panel in the comic where basically Gladiator's got his arm around Drax's neck, and Drax is getting ready to punch him for like a second time. Drax's right arm, where he just got done punching him, is turned around, more normal, where his palm of his hand is down, unlike here where the palm of the hand is up. But again, I'm trying to hide that silly knife because I haven't finished my custom Drax, the modern version. So basically the shot was cropped more, and in the panel it's pretty much, it's very similar. There's not quite so much dead space on the sides, so don't know if I'm going to try to crop that anymore, but basically that's how the final shot looked like. And in order to pull this off, I had to put them both on flight stands. These are the import flight stands, probably from Figure Arts or Tamashi. So I'll take the camera off so you can take a look there. You've got Gladiator on the bottom there with the clasp around his waist. Unfortunately, this set you can't adjust the tightness on the clasp or the piece that pegs in. Can't tighten that up, but can on the other ones that Drax is on there. And basically I just clasped around his belt. Got it hanging around his belt there, and secured it with a small black rubber band so that it would stay tight on the belt. If you can see that, there we go. So yeah, and would have liked to have got them a little bit closer together, but it just wasn't going to work out for excuse me, the shot. They would just look like they were hugging each other and not fighting, so I had to keep them a little bit more separated, and I think it worked out fairly well. Alright, the only thing I'm going to do digitally is clean up that excess blue that's on his shoulder. Don't like the look of that. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the next setup. Okay, just got done with this shot with Drax slamming Gladiator into the ground, causing a crackoom. And man, this was a pain in the ass. Initially I was going to just take down all this rock, actual dirt setup, and lay the paper background on the display flat, and try to put Drax on a stand perpendicular or parallel with the background, and shoot it from above. But the more I thought about it, the more I was going to be fighting gravity with the pose, so I just said, I'm going to try hanging him upside down like he is in the actual shot, and devised a pretty ingenious way to do it. I got one of my rods and secured it to my shelf with a couple of rubber bands, and a binder clip. So there's a couple rubber bands going through the binder clip, and then I clipped it onto the shelf and then fed the rod into the binder clip, or into the rubber bands onto the binder clip, and then let's see if I can zoom in. You can see how Then I just I jammed the rod into, I took a sculpting stick, I guess is what you call it, point, metal sculpting point, and jammed it into his pant leg, try to open up the space a little bit, and then I fed the rod into there and then wrapped small black rubber band around his foot or ankle to secure it on there, and was surprised. This way with thread he would have been spinning the entire time, and there's no way I could have that going down, so he stays on there really secure. And then I got my trusty stand, cutout stand there, and just stuck that on with some masking tape. I've been using the same piece of masking tape for a while. Oh, and then on Drax's head I used some sticky tack because his head doesn't actually clear his back of his neck, so I've got the sticky tack on there to secure his head so that he can look straight at Gladiator, because if I, well, here, I'll show you. I've got another Drax that I was originally going to pose, and you can see that he cannot look. That's as far as he can look up. He's got kind of a big head, so that's the best I could get out of that. So with the sticky tack, we can actually get his head on there like so. So from the top, it looks like he's looking straight down. Obviously from the side it's going to look retarded, but there, he's looking straight down. So that's how I was able to pull that off, and worked pretty well. So pretty happy with the shot. I was not able to recreate the exact pose because I again wanted to hide the knife on his hand, but I think for the most part it came out pretty well. So unfortunately nothing fell. The cutout was kind of a bitch to light properly, but and I probably took about 2-3 dozen shots before I finally got it down, and obviously the impact effect is not the same color as the rocks, but I'm going to crop out the stand and the bottom of the impact effect and the rod going into his foot. So yeah, hopefully you guys liked it, and got one more shot to show. Alright, so it's actually been a couple days since I got done shooting this photo, and everything kind of fell apart, so I just quickly put it back together so that you could see how I pulled it off. Just have the blast effect laying on my display table or bench, and part of it taken off and moved to the side, the right side of Gladiator here, and Drax just standing over him. I've got Drax's right foot on a stand and his other foot standing on his cape, and let's see, so yeah, Gladiator's just laying there on top of everything, and then the cutout I have suspended with a sewing needle with sticky tack on each end, and I will take the camera off so you can see that. So there you can see the cutout suspended by the sewing needle, the sticky tack on either end, and just gently balancing itself on top of his head. So it's always challenging with cutouts to try and get them in, number one, in the right position, and number two, lit and focused correctly so that you can read them. And then number 3, to not show how you are suspending them into the scene. So, you know, see a lot of people on the page, especially a lot of old school members who almost never use cutouts, and I think that really elevates your game when you're able to pull it off, because it takes, I think it adds about 4 times the complexity to your shot when you have to use cutout, because you have to, number one, you have to make the cutout, and it has to look good when you cut it out, and number 2, you have to position it correctly, and number 3, you have to light it correctly and focus your entire shot so that your cutout is legible. So I don't. A lot of times I will pass on vanilla shots that don't have cutouts, especially from people who are veterans in the community who you know, I feel like they're just not going the extra mile to go through all the work, because it is a lot of work. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed part 1 and part 2 of this wRecked and Tangled. It was a labor of love to put the whole scene together. Guardians of the Galaxy is the only comic that I stay current with, so I was extremely excited to be able to reproduce some scenes with Gladiator and Drax. Been wanting a Gladiator for a long time, and so happy to get him and be able to use him for replicating scene from my favorite comic. Alright, so with that, we'll bid you farewell and leave you with Brock.
Hey you, don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Brock.